The mistake in the Strait of Hormuz is creating a chaotic situation that even Iran may struggle to control. In early 2026, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps rushed to turn this narrow waterway into a massive minefield. According to descriptions attributed to the New York Times, this was not a brilliant strategic move so much as a panicked response under pressure. IRGC units hurriedly dropped explosives into the sea, so focused on blocking Western warships that they barely recorded GPS coordinates and did not place the mines in any traceable pattern. In other words, they did not just lock the door. They welded it shut and then threw the blueprint into the ocean. The danger grew even worse once nature entered the picture. The currents in the Strait of Hormuz are notoriously strong, and if the mines break loose, they could slam into any passing oil tanker and set off a full-scale disaster. Drifting explosives turn the world's most critical shipping lane into a deadly gamble. You may clear a path today, only to find another mine drifting back into the same spot tomorrow. As a result, about 20% of the world's daily oil supply is now trapped behind a barrier that Iran itself
flows
built,
through here. Now
but may
it's
no
trapped,
longer know
a
how to
self-inflicted
dismantle.
barrier, a problem
The
with no
Strait of
easy
Hormuz
fix.
has
The
long
Strait
been
of
one of the
Hormuz
most
is a
vital
global
choke
choke point,
points in the
handling
global
20%
economy,
of the world's oil supply.
handling roughly
A constant
20%
flow
of
of
the
oil
world's
tankers
daily
moves
oil
through these
supply.
waters, underscoring its vital economic
Against that
importance and
backdrop,
control.
the IRGC appears to have shifted to a new approach, demanding a $2 million toll in cryptocurrency. But after losing more than 50 major warships, the real question is how it can still exert pressure at all. The answer lies in a much older style of warfare.
As the war
one that
progressed,
feels
naval
almost
tactics
pulled
evolved
from
to meet
World
new
War
challenges
II.
on the open sea. This era
Instead
saw a
of relying
strategic
on
shift,
large destroyers
emphasizing
that are easy to
adaptability
detect
and
and
precision in
destroy,
naval engagements.
The IRGC Navy uses a mosquito fleet, a swarm of small, fast, hard-to-track attack craft. These include highly maneuverable fiberglass boats such as the Ashura class, the Tereg class, and heavily modified boghammer speedboats. Their method is simple, but highly dangerous. Rather than confronting a U.S. destroyer head-on, which they would almost certainly lose, they launch dozens of small boats at once from multiple directions. The goal is to overwhelm the enemy's defenses by presenting more targets than can be tracked and destroyed at the same time. They do not stop there. They also make use of dual-purpose vessels. To the untrained eye, these may look like ordinary fishing boats or commercial tugboats, but beneath that civilian appearance, they are configured for covert military operations. The idea that such small craft can deploy heavy naval mines may sound surprising, but in reality, their methods are extremely crude. Because these are not large, dedicated mine-laying ships, they do not use sophisticated automated tracking systems. In a narrow bottleneck like the Strait of Hormuz, that crude simplicity becomes lethally effective. The most common method is stern dropping. Mines are strapped to the rear deck, and once the boat reaches the target area, the crew simply rolls or shoves them into the water. Some slightly larger boats may have basic metal rails to help slide the mines off. That is about as advanced as it gets. But stripped-down setup makes them especially well-suited for hit-and-run tactics. The entire strategy depends on speed and concealment. A small speedboat can dart into crowded shipping lanes, use darkness as cover, or blend in with civilian maritime traffic. Within seconds, it can drop 2 or 3 mines and then race back toward the Iranian coast before heavy U.S. warships can even lock onto it. As for weapons, these boats are drawing from an estimated Iranian stockpile of 2,000 to 6,000 explosive devices. These range from simple contact mines, which float near the surface and detonate on impact, to more advanced bottom mines, which sink to the shallow sea floor and wait silently until they detect the acoustic signature of a passing supertanker. Faced with that threat, The United States did not choose to sit back and wait for the mines to hit the water before beginning mine-clearing operations under enemy fire. It moved first. This was the first layer of strategy. Stop the attack before it takes shape. The United States struck the mine-laying vessels before they could deploy. It was a classic preemptive denial strategy, destroying the enemy's tools of attack before they could be used. The second layer was intelligence superiority and precise targeting. This was not a blind strike. It was based on highly valuable intelligence about Iran's operational plans. The United States combined signals intelligence from RC-135 aircraft, maritime surveillance from P-8 Poseidon platforms, and human intelligence. That made it possible to identify exactly which vessels were laying mines, where they were docked, and when they were most vulnerable. The third strategy was to hit the vessels while they were moored. Most of the targets were struck while still sitting at the pier. A stationary ship is far easier, safer, and more precise to hit than a moving target out at sea. This also greatly reduced the risk of a missed strike, causing an unintended international incident in a waterway already crowded with traffic. The fourth strategy was the dual target doctrine. By hitting both the mine-laying vessels and the mine storage sites at the same time, the United States ensured that even if Iran had replacement boats available, there would be little or no ordnance left to arm them. It was a layered approach designed to create maximum strategic impact through a single coordinated operation. The United States also did not rely on just one kind of weapon. It used nearly the full battlefield playbook to crush the so-called mosquito fleet. Hellfire missiles launched from drones were used against the small boats. Long-range cruise missiles were fired from Navy destroyers operating offshore. And to finish the job decisively, strategic bombers dropped 2,000-pound GPS-guided bunker buster bombs to wipe out vessels still sitting in storage areas. In footage said to be from U.S. Central Command, the image of a Hellfire missile slamming into a mine-laying vessel clearly illustrates the role of this small but highly precise weapon. That underscores a striking reality. To understand how the tide of a conflict can turn, you have to understand how compact missiles like these can cripple an entire small navy with the help of a drone. The firing process itself is relatively straightforward. The operator uses a joystick to zoom in on a heat signature, locks onto the target, and then presses the trigger below the control stick to launch the missile. Once released, the weapon flies directly toward its designated target. The original content, of course, also inserted a VPN advertisement, comparing the MQ-9's multi-target defense capability to software that blocks phishing emails, malicious download links, viruses, malware, and tracking by ads or third parties. That sponsored segment does not change the military substance of the story, but it does highlight how modern videos often weave commercial messages into wartime analysis. What matters more is why such a small missile can successfully track and strike a fast-moving speedboat on the water. The AGM-114 Hellfire is a high-precision weapon guided by either semi-active laser or millimeter-wave radar that allows it to lock onto and follow targets with impressive accuracy, even fast-moving ones like attack boats. The MQ-9 Reaper drone uses advanced sensors and targeting pods to maintain continuous surveillance and feed real-time information to the missile after launch. The system can calculate the boat's speed, direction, and evasive maneuvers, then predict where it will be next and adjust the missile's flight path accordingly. In terms of speed, the Hellfire travels faster than Mach 1, more than 760 miles per hour, or about 1,225 kilometers per hour. Far faster than the speedboat. That gives the missile enough speed to close the distance quickly, while still making fine adjustments on the way in. Its guidance system is built to compensate for evasive maneuvers by continuously tracking reflected laser or radar signals from the boat. Each time the target changes direction or speed, the missile corrects its course. Combined with the MQ-9 Reaper's real-time continuous tracking, the Hellfire can follow, anticipate, and destroy a boat, traveling at up to 69 miles per hour. Taken together, the account claims that the United States removed more than 60
In the
warships
Persian Gulf,
and
the
submarines
small
from the
Iranian
fight in
fast
just
attack
10
craft
days.
Joshan rapidly approaches
story
a
then
U.S.
points
Navy
to
surface
several
action
notable
group,
engagements.
setting the stage for a historic
First came the
confrontation.
Joshan. When this Iranian fast attack craft approached a U.S. surface action group, it fired a U.S.-made harpoon missile, a leftover from arms sales before the Iranian Revolution. The cruiser USS Wainwright evaded the missile using electronic countermeasures and chaff. The U.S. ships immediately fired back, sinking the Joshan in what became the world's first missile duel between warships. Next came the Sahand. This Iranian frigate left port to challenge the U.S. fleet and opened fire on passing aircraft. The response was almost immediate. Navy strike aircraft and the destroyer USS Joseph Strauss converged on the vessel, hammering it with missiles and heavy bombs until it caught fire and eventually sank after its own ammunition detonated. Later that same day, another ship, the Sabalan, also tested its luck. It fired a surface-to-air missile at a U.S. aircraft, but the pilot evaded, circled back, and dropped a 500-pound laser-guided bomb straight down the ship's smokestack. The internal blast left the vessel completely crippled. The overarching objective behind this entire chain of actions was to secure the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical choke points for global oil. When a lifeline of world commerce is covered with hastily placed mines, with no maps, no reliable pattern, and the constant risk of drifting, the danger lies not only in war, but in error, chaos, and the worldwide ripple effects that follow. And that is what makes this crisis so alarming. The door was slammed shut too quickly, and now even the one who closed it